ટ્રાયલ જ છે
હમણાં
ને
રેકોર્ડ ના કરો ને.
ને આ ટ્રાયલ જ છે ને ઠીક છે ને આ કે આપણે પબ્લિશ કરવાના છે હા
કેટલો ટાઈમ છે આપણી પાસે અત્યારે
કરીએ ને 20-25 મિનિટ 2-3 ક્વેશ્ચન લઈએ
તો સ્લાઇડ શેર કરવાની હોય ને તો પહેલે મેં મિનિમાઇઝ કરીને રાખ્યું પછી જ્યારે હું સ્લાઇડ શેર પર તમે મને આપશો ને સ્લાઇડ શેર નું ઓપ્શન તો આઈ વિલ ક્લિક ઓન સ્લાઇડ શેર હા પછી સ્લાઇડ શેર નું આવશે અહીંયા તે સ્લાઇડ પર હું ક્લિક કરસ તો શેર થશે ખબર છે ને
તમને આવે છે ગ્રીન બટન શેર સ્ક્રીન નું
હા હા આવે છે
હા તો આઈ ડોન્ટ નીડ ટુ ડુ એનીથિંગ યુ કેન જસ્ટ બિગિન
ઓકે ચાલો તમે ક્વેશ્ચન પૂછો હા
yes
let us start and you time it huh? Definition of MSME છે ને તો અતિ સ્લાઇડ શેર શરૂ થશે હા સમજો ને
yes
I'm keeping my phone on mute
even I
okay બોલો
one minute yes Paro be mute
okay start
hello Mrs. Dhamodiwalla how are you
I'm fine
yes
good to be connected with you
correct yes I'm also very glad to meet you out here online Acha, can you just tell us briefly about your journey from corporate world to starting your own consultancy services? I mean,
okay, so let me tell you a little about myself. I have got more than 40 years of corporate experience in various large companies and also government companies, private sector as well as public sector. I'm an economist by education. I've done my MA with economics with specialization in industrial economics. And that's why my concentration was more on large industry. After finishing my MA, I joined Tata Economic Consultancy Services as an economist and then rose to the rank of senior consultant, where I did almost 200-300 projects, market studies, feasibility studies.
300 projects? My God.
Yeah, over 20 years. I was there in Tata's for 20 years. I met J.R.D. Tata, even Ratan Tata in those days. And I did projects for the World Bank, the International Finance Corporation, ADB, many companies in the Tata Group, even in the government, ministry, state government, and got an all-round experience in the corporate sector. Then, since I was working in the development economic side, growth, I decided to join Sidbi. In fact, the same day when I applied, I was called, and same day I was appointed. And there I was appointed as a DGM. And over there in Sidbi, that is Laghu Udyog Vikas Bank, I worked for 12 years. And of that, 3 years was in Lucknow. So I got the experience of the head office in Lucknow and the main branch in Bombay. And over there, I did a lot of projects. My entire focus was on MSMEs, how to help the MSMEs get finance, how to help the MSMEs promote themselves, market their products, how to avoid these delayed payments problems which were arising in those days, how to get over the problems of high interest rates that they were being charged. So we devised many schemes in Sidbi. And I got a complete insight into, I myself visited a large number of MSMEs in Andheri, Kurla, Thana, all those areas. And I got to know how they were suffering because of high interest rates and how their parent bodies, like auto industry where they were supplying, how they were, really extracted, their life with high interest rates, delayed payments. So I decided that this is what my calling is. This is what my profession is going to be. And I'm going to start my own enterprise and help them, especially the small and the micro units, the women entrepreneurs who are always turned away by Sidbi. Aapko loan denge nahi, aapko loan bharenge nahi. Then I came back to Bombay from Lucknow, took my voluntary retirement from Sidbi, and then I joined CRISIL. so that I could get an idea about the MSME ratings, how MSMEs are being rated
That is
by
also very
rating
important.
agencies.
Correct.
That was a very good break for me. And then finally, I decided to join SP Jain Institute of Management, where I set up the corporate governance cell. I did a lot of work in the area of corporate governance of family managed companies. Again, not very small, but still medium size. How family managed companies, they only look at profits and, shareholding, and they
Yeah,
are so
correct.
much in control. Yeah. Family managed companies are always in control. So
Mm.
their governance and all was a very difficult thing for them,
Mm.
compliance and all. So I did a lot of work in that area, listed companies, family managed companies, unlisted companies. Then I worked on what is the importance of corporate governance on financial performance of these
Mm.
companies and risk management. So at the end of all this, finally I decided to start my own, and I started my own business beacon management consultant,
Wow.
where I have 2 or 3 focus areas. One is MSME, financing, promotion,
Mm.
marketing, business
Great.
plan preparation. And the second is corporate governance, board leadership, compliances, internal audits, and all those. So now, since Business Beacon, I have been in Business Beacon. I started Business Beacon in 2015, and now it's been almost 5, 6 years. And I'm still, trying to promote my business. But I help a lot. I do pro bono services for a lot of women entrepreneurs, a lot of
Mm.
micro units. So this is how my journey has been. Very satisfying.
Great, great. It's still going on. Lot more to come to you, and I'm really glad that you have just not got that what you call back office experience. Means actually you have been able to gather experience from the field, visiting entrepreneurs and actually interacting with them. So
Yes, that is
your
what helped me a lot. So
correct.
all my studies required market surveys. I
Uh,
traveled and I went personally with my questionnaire, and I
mm,
got to know how they were operating. Some of them are operating in small 10 by 10 rooms with their plant machinery, their accounts department in one corner and their inventories in one corner and their machinery. So it was really,
yeah, I
like
mean almost
Andheri
correct.
East was not so developed in those days, but
Mm.
I went and visited.
Great,
Okay.
great, great.
Yeah.
Just a side note, I also started my, you know, you can't say career, in my, just as an internship, I took in a market research company. You
Oh, that's nice.
Correct.
I also started with market research only in Tata Economic Consult.
Oh, wow, wow. Yeah, I've also got a BSc in statistics. So great. Great
Yeah,
minds.
at the graduate level, I did economics and statistics.
Wow, wow. Great
But at the
minds think alike.
postgraduate, I did, yeah, industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, now what are the major changes in the economic environment that have influenced people to start their own business or branch out to the new business? So it's like, starting out a new business and all, it was always happening, but now in recent times it has, increased. So what do you think is
Yeah.
the reason behind it?
See, the main thing which happened over the last 2 years and 3 months was, of course, the complete economic environment underwent a complete change. There was an economic reset, as you call it. There
Mm,
was this entire fear of, contracting COVID. People were dying. So everybody had to take care. So everyone changed their working, their operations. Companies closed down. Large companies had to close, but the staff was working from home. Small companies could not cope. If they closed down, they still had to pay their rent, their utilities, their electricity bills. So they could not cope with it. So many small companies had to close down because
mm.
machinery was idle, capacity was idle, stocks were
Yeah, yeah,
piling.
I can
There was
understand.
raw material. There was disruption in raw material supply. On
Mm,
top of that, all the workers who could not take care of themselves in their small one-room apartments had to move out back to their villages. So
mm,
there was, a complete migration of workers.
mm.
So the many small-scale industries could not cope with it and had to close down, as you probably are aware. And
Yes,
they're
yes,
still groping. They're still groping, to take care of these problems.
yes,
And
yes.
Then government had to intervene in 2020 and again in 2021, and they made a complete big package of some 50,000 crore for the
Oh,
MSMEs to take care of their NPAs, because all their loans which they had taken because of slowdown and closure of their companies, they could not manage to pay off their loans in time. Their installments were delayed. So the government helped them by postponing their repayment, their EMIs. So
okay.
government helped them twice to postpone their payment problems. So at least they were, taken care of for the time being. But now, of course, government is asking them to pay up. Because see, if whatever has happened, loans have to be repaid, So
Yes,
that
yes,
was a
yes.
big burden on them, apart from all the other problems that they were facing. Then slowly, they realized that the sectors, the traditional sectors, another economic environment impact was that the traditional sectors of hospitality and the hotel industry, airlines, hospitality, tourism, all slowed down. Everything, there was nothing happening in that industry.
Correct,
So
correct.
those industries affected the small restaurants and hotel owners. Again, there was a problem. There was a problem in the entertainment sector also went through, because all the theaters and everything had closed down. So there's so many people who were working in small company who were running some entertainment industry, that also slowed down.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, many new sectors emerged. The good advantage of this whole issue was that there are many industries like, edutech, fintech, delivery, e-commerce, all these sectors emerged. And that is where all the startups started setting up, because they were sitting at home, working from home. Some of them had lost their job. So the startups took over. They started developing apps. They started developing aggregating models. They started developing online payment systems, online food delivery, online education, online healthcare. So everything went from offline to online. That was a major change. And now we are seeing the advantages of that change. So
Hmm.
it had a positive and a negative effect. Now, the only problem now in 22 is this Ukraine war. Again, the petrol prices have gone up. Petrol prices have gone up, which has affected our exports also, our imports also, because the cost of everything is going up. Again, there is inflation. So again, we are having the problems of that. So this is the environmental major changes.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, correct. Environment keeps changing and ups and downs keep coming, which
Yeah,
which cause ups and downs for the entrepreneur. But then the
yeah.
entrepreneur is the person who navigates through all these. Correct.
He has to take the risks.
Yes, yes, yes. What are the challenges faced by small businesses and startups in the post-COVID area? I think you have covered in the earlier
Yeah,
answer.
most of it I've covered. See, basically cash flow crunch,
Hmm.
demand supply disruptions, then close down supply chain disruptions, raw materials could not be available. So these are the challenges, they faced,
Yes, yes, yes.
as I've already said.
Yeah, but there are
And of course,
solutions.
financial challenges,
Correct.
repayment problems. Yeah.
But there are
After two
solutions,
years
and
to,
we will elaborate in the next slides. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
How can small businesses prepare themselves for these challenges?
Yeah. Now, small businesses, most of them are not aware of, how to prepare themselves. This is the problem with them. They live from day to day. They work on margins. So, and sometimes the chairman or the main promoter has everything under his control. So he has hardly any time to prepare for the future. He
Correct.
doesn't even do succession planning. He doesn't even do succession planning. So tomorrow, if his main manager or CEO quits, then he is lost.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he has to, yeah. So firstly, to revive his industry, he has to recognize and upgrade himself, upskill himself. He has to be ready to diversify. See, MSMEs are very nimble. They can change over very fast. Large companies take time to change over, but MSMEs are known to be, very nimble and quick in that flexible. So they have the advantage of flexibility, which means that they can switch over from their existing, business operations to new operations. They can diversify into similar products. Like if you are making ready to eat food, they can make ready to drink beverages. Or if they are making garments, they can go into handloom and and bed linen and bathroom linen, So they can diversify into similar products, or they can diversify and upgrade their technology into different processes of manufacturing so that they can cut down the cost. So the cost cutting is another very important way in which you can survive. So it is like if you try, you will revive yourself and you will survive. So after changing over, you can forge, strategic alliances with partners. There are many foreigners who are interested in investing money in India. So even MSMEs are, if they're doing well, then they can forge strategic alliances with their partners. And that will help them, hand holding and technology upgradation, which will help them to innovate, which will help them to get into new sectors, like, and then of course they can always go into the global markets for exports, like in MSMEs, handicrafts, handlooms, garments, leather products. These are the areas in which they can export. So exports also can be, the global market can also be explored. So there are many
Great,
ways.
great. Yeah. There are many ways. Okay. Uh, what are the new emerging opportunities for small business in the new economic environment? Yes, you also covered, but just add a little bit.
Yeah, now I will be a little more specific. So I will share my screen with you. Okay, so I'm doing
Sure.
share
That will be
screen.
great. That will be great.
Yeah. Now you make my share screen. Okay, you have disabled it, but you make me share the screen now.
You are not seeing the green button. Okay.
I
1 minute.
I have, but
Ah,
you have disabled me. You have disabled me
no.
to
I'm not.
make me.
Okay, I'll make you a host.
You have to make me co-host.
Co-host.
Now I'm the host. Now I can share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I will. Now I'm sharing my screen with you. Okay.
Yeah. With me and many other viewers.
Yes. Yes. Now you can see me in the corner, and I will share
Yes.
my screen with you, and
Correct.
I will go on slideshow once I come to that particular,
You can
question
go
that you
full
are
screen if you can.
emerging opportunities you want, no? So I will go
The
to
question is,
emerging
what are the
opportunities.
emerging opportunities? Yes, for small
Yes,
business.
yes, yes. I will go to this particular slide. Can you see?
Yes.
Can
If
you
you can,
see, or should I go to slideshow? Let me see.
yeah, try slides if you can.
Yeah.
Otherwise, okay.
Can you see? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Now
this
it's
is
perfect.
slideshow. So,
Perfect.
so, so as they say, when the winds of change blow, some build walls, whereas others build windmills. You understand what I'm trying to say? So when you,
Yes.
yeah, so
Superb.
you capitalize on the advantages, right?
Correct. Some are
So
resist the change and some take the advantage of the change which comes in. Yeah.
yes, yes. So now these are the areas in which, startups and MSMEs can really thrive, which is, of course, e-commerce, everyone knows, delivery systems, education, which has gone online, edutech, digital education, online education. Of course, everyone knows that healthcare has become the most prominent sector these days. And there are so many, again, sub-segments in the healthcare industry, like not only vaccine, but even, new medicines, new drugs, then medical equipment, testing facilities, so many things, We know that our MSME started manufacturing ventilators when, it was required during COVID, and how fast they managed to supply ventilators to the hospitals. Then agriculture is another very important sector, like agro processing, ready to eat foods, ready to process foods, food processing sector. There's so much wastage at the farm level. Storage, cold storages are required where they can be brought
Yes.
to
Lot
the
of opportunity in
factories.
that sector. Correct.
Yeah. Then again, social impact is coming as a very important sector, because the corporate sector has to do its CSR activities, 2% of their profit they have to divert for CSR activities. So social impact is, of course, taking care of environment, sustainability, clean energy, waste management. You are aware of that, ne? So many companies have gone into that sector. Then defense sector is also getting a lot of boost and a lot of capital investment from the government. So defense sector is another very big sector where MSMEs can become ancillaries, or they can supply their products to the defense sector. They can become suppliers to the defense sector. It's a very big industry. Then pharmaceuticals, Ayurveda, herbal, personal care products. You know about Nykaa, how Nykaa Falguni Nair has
Yes,
done
yes.
so well.
Brilliant
It's
story.
got awards.
Yeah. I mean,
Ayurveda
in
and
such a
herbal products.
competitive market, how it came up, it's like sort of.
She has come up very well.
Yeah.
And of course, biotechnology has always been a growing sector. Waste and water management has been a very important growing sector. So these are the sectors. Now I can go to the next slide and show you that what are the opportunities in the large scale sector. See, Rahul, see,
I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm seeing
in
also.
the large scale sector, these are the sectors where MSMEs can tie up with the large enterprises like
This is
energy,
actually
clean
a less
energy, wind
risky
energy,
strategy
solar
also.
energy,
Yes,
then
yes.
mobility, that means mobile apps, space research, oil and gas, textile, where government is focusing a lot on oil, gas, and even textile. Textiles has always been the domain of MSMEs, as you are aware. Textile means the power loom industry, handloom industry, garment industry, very good export potential also.
Correct.
Telecommunication services is also there. And
Correct.
you know how this, 5G and 4G and everything has gone, on the phone. Everything is available on the phone. So telecommunication and back office operations for that industry have also done well. Then transportation, railways, roadways. Government is pumping a lot of money in the infrastructure sector. So many new railway lines are open, new trains have come up. Of course, the metro is there. So you can become suppliers to all these large industries. Then there is scope in import substitution, like supply chain for components, even small components which you supply to automotive sector, or even, car batteries. So many new products are coming up every year or
Correct.
every day.
Correct.
Then of course, rural markets is another area. So these are the opportunities in the large scale sector.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I think import substitution is government is really very much promoting it. Make in India.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Atmanirbhar.
Yes,
Atmanirbhar Bharat. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Okay. We move to the one. What is the formal definition of MSME as defined by Government of India?
Yeah. The definition was there since I think I don't know, maybe in the early 1990s, and very late in 2006 or 7, the definition was changed. I will show you a graph where you can get a snapshot of the new definition. See,
Yes, yes, yes. This
one minute.
viewers, I would like the viewers to, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd
Let
like the
the
viewers
viewers
to
see
see
earlier,
this carefully. Correct. Carry on, carry on.
earlier, earlier, the definition of MSMEs was in two sectors, manufacturing sector and services sector. And the cutoff was on investment in plant and machinery. So what you had investment in your plant and machinery, not building, not land, only plant and machinery, machinery and a little bit of fixtures, but not
So it
land or
was
building.
actually not very, conforming with the new reality. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Carry on.
because see, the MSMEs were also growing at the same time.
Yes, yes.
MSMEs were growing. So since MSMEs were growing, you had to, expand the limit. So from a small, like, there was investment was only about, 5 crore. Now they have made a dual criteria, investment in plant and machinery as well as turnover. So that you have to abide by both the criteria, investment in plant and machinery as well as turnover. So the micro is any unit which has investment in plant and machinery up to 1 crore and at the same time has turnover up to 5 crore. That would be micro. Then small would be any unit which has an investment between 5 crore and 10 crore in plant and machinery, but at the same time turnover should be between 5 crore and 50 crore. You are getting me?
Yes, yes, yes. So
Yeah. So
basically,
now
yeah,
the
correct.
small is also grown. It has become almost up to 50 crore. You can be still considered as small, and you can take advantage of all the benefits. Then
Yes,
medium,
yes, yes.
medium,
It's quite. It is in fact
medium
more than
scales.
90, almost 90-95% of them will be covered in from at least this micro, small, medium. Correct.
Micro is only almost 95-96%.
Oh,
Small is not even 10%.
uh,
And medium is 0.001%. So medium is that figures if people want I can give. Investment is up to 50 crore. Up to 50 crore investment in plant and machinery
wow.
will come under MSM.
Hmm.
And turnover up to from 50 crore to 250 crore. So
Oh,
up to 250 crore turnover, you can still be within the sector and reap all the advantages.
so in short, the majority of the industries are getting preferential, you know, treatment. From you can say in terms of all this. Yeah, carry on, carry on.
Yeah,
Okay. So we have covered the definition, and the viewers can note it down. They can take a screenshot also of this. Okay.
yeah,
What is the definition of startups?
yeah. For that, I'll share another slide to you. This is the definition of startup for Startup India portal. See, Government of India's definition for startup is two types.
Okay,
One
okay.
is for one is for getting most of the services like mentoring services, acceleration, seed funding, small things like going into an incubator, developing a prototype, developing proof of concept, putting
Mhm.
your ideas into actually concepts. So
Mhm.
the definition for registering on Startup India portal
Mhm.
is that it should be an entity, it should be registered in India, and it should have been only started 5 years back with
Mhm.
an annual turnover not exceeding 25 crore in the preceding financial year. These are the two criteria that the unit has to meet with. Okay,
Mhm.
5 years and 25 crore in turnover. It could be less,
It's
up to 25 crore.
quite, I would say, liberal. Yeah,
Yeah.
in both
Then
in terms of number of
again,
years and the turnover. Yeah, carry on, carry on.
but in 5 years, nobody is going to reach 25 crore. So
Yeah,
5 years from inception,
yeah.
I mean, 5 years from 5 years from starting maybe proof of concept and maybe commercialization.
Yeah,
After that,
correct,
they will start counting 5 years. It's
correct,
not
correct.
that at the idea stage they are not going to count because idea stage and prototype stage takes time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's better to be in an incubator, so your time starts with the incubator. So they will give you a
Exactly.
formal certificate that you are a startup and you have
Mhm.
joined an incubator and you have spent 5 years. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, yes.
then it should be working. The most important thing in a startup is that it should be working towards innovation, development
Mhm.
of new product, deployment or commercialization of new processes, new products, or
Mhm.
services driven by technology or
Mhm.
intellectual property. So you
Mhm.
should be in a area which is new, or it is a new process, or it is
Mhm.
a new way of doing things, or it's a need which was unmet. You know
Mhm.
and it should be driven by technology because there's always emphasis on that.
Mhm.
You can always have your patent. The entity should not be formed by splitting up or reconstruction of a business which is already in business.
Mhm.
It cannot be that it is a part of an existing business. It should be a completely brand new entity. Okay?
Correct. Otherwise, big companies will just keep
Yeah,
starting
yeah,
subsidiaries and taking
yeah.
advantage of all
the,
these.
the moment 5 years are over, you
Mhm.
will start becoming another non-startup. But for DPIIT, that is for financing, there is
Ah,
another definition, that
mhm.
is Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. Now I'll
Okay,
show you another
DPIT.
definition,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is definition of startup. This is under Startup India portal.
Ah,
Now this is for financial assistance. So
okay, okay.
if you want finance, then you have to be registered under DPIIT.
I think this
Okay?
also becomes more or less obligatory because every
Yeah.
startup would require finance. Yeah, carry on, carry
Yeah. So, but then there is more relaxation. because you can't be 5 years and, asking for a loan. So you have to be in existence for 10 years from the date of
Okay,
inception
okay,
of your
okay.
company. 10 years from the date of inception of your company. Now, the company type could be private limited, registered partnership, or limited liability partnership, LLP. And your turnover is not going to be limited to 25 crore, it should be 100 crore. Okay. So
Barabar.
this is a more broader definition, because now you're going to go to the ministry or you go to government for finance. So, and then again, that working towards innovation, improvement of existing products and services is always there. So the emphasis on tech-driven or, AI, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, all these things are there. But the startup has to obtain a certificate from DPIIT if it has to,
Okay,
Department of Industrial Policy, if it has to go for finance. Okay.
great, great. Yeah, okay, should obtain a certificate. Yeah, yeah, fine. Post of course, we plan to, set up a, cover all these topics in detail in future
Yeah.
seminars. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now yeah. Uh, Finance is a major requirement at every stage of business. What type of financial assistance is available to micro and small enterprises?
Yeah. One second. Of course, once you have passed the idea stage and you've got your patent and you've commercialized your product, then uh, I'm going to continue with this slide share, but I'm going to talk, without looking into the. So
Yeah,
just listen to me without looking. Otherwise, I'll have to stop share. Okay, I can stop share. Can you see me?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I've stopped share. When I come to the next slide, I will again do slide share.
yeah. Okay, no
Okay.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
carry on.
So what I'm trying to tell you all is that financial assistance is anyway required once you start manufacturing your product. Even before you start manufacturing your product, at the pre-product stage, pre-project stage, you require to do market research, you require to do business plan preparation, you require to make prototypes. So finance is required at every stage. But once you have started to enter the market and commercial production has started, you require loans. So you got two types of loans: long-term loans and working capital loans.
Barabar.
I will explain the terminologies
Yeah,
in
yeah.
detail later. But term loan is called a long-term loan, which is generally required by new companies as well as existing companies.
Okay,
So the
okay.
term loan is generally taken for machinery, for sometimes it is taken for land. Term loans are usually not given for land and building. Basically, they are given for machinery, because the bank can have the first charge. You can hypothecate the machinery to the bank as a
Understand,
security.
understand. Because it's
So, so, so,
yeah, correct. It must
so,
come
so
regularly,
the
right?
main type of finance for SMEs today is loan.
Yes.
Yeah, term loan and working capital loan. Working capital loan is basically for payment of utilities, salaries, wages, electricity bill, water charges, day-to-day expense.
Raw
So
material.
that is working. And working capital is given in various ways, which I will explain in detail when we come to terminology. Now,
Okay.
what are the main? So then, of course, equity is also there. Bombay Stock Exchange has started MSME Exchange of India, where once you have grown from up to at least medium, you can still go and get your raise capital from the public, and
Yes,
you
yes,
can
yes.
raise capital from the public, and then you can have your own
Yeah, we have
shareholders.
yeah, correct. We have a SME exchange also.
SME exchange, yeah. And there your shares can be traded. If your shares are good and if they give you good valuation, market cap, you can trade it. That is equity. Then, of course, you have angel funding, venture capital funding. You have, funding from Sidbi, which is more like equity, but it is given on soft loan basis. So they put in as equity, but actually it is a soft loan. Okay. Then, of course, there are private equity investors, high net worth individuals, NRIs. If your project is good, they are ready to put money in that to take care of your capital requirements. Of course, the existing companies also can raise finance. Existing companies can also raise finance at the expansion stage. So they're expanding, or if they're setting up a new company, or if they're setting up a new shed, industrial shed, or if they're going into new markets, then the existing companies can also get finance. And for them, the existing companies, all the schemes are little different, you know. So schemes, of course, we will come to at a later point. But existing companies also do a lot of, upgradation, modernization, diversification. So they develop software, they go for digitization. For that, they require, developing an app and going digital. That also requires working capital. So new companies as well as existing companies, many schemes are there. Then, of course, they have to take money for effluent treatment, common facility centers, testing laboratories. So finance is given as loan, basically.
Okay, okay. Understood. So there are many areas where different types of loans are given. Correct. So loan is not just one single product. There are many products.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. Can you explain the main financial terminologies which MSEs need to understand before applying for finance?
1 minute. For that, I have a slide for that. So I'll do slide share. Hmm?
Yeah.
I'll just go to that slide, huh?
Next bucket.
Yeah, I'm trying to go to the next one only, but this one is only coming.
You press
1
the
sec.
right arrow key. Right arrow key.
Right, or I am doing up and down, but it's not happening.
So you want to go to the up before slide or after slide?
Later slide.
Then you press the right arrow key.
Oh, I'll have to. I'll have to.
Otherwise, you have exit full screen and then select the slide.
Yeah, I'll have to exit full screen and then slide share. 1 sec. Huh?
Yeah.
1 sec. I'll do it and then I'll go to full screen. Okay. So just see.
Yeah. On the
We have
left,
already been.
on the left you can select.
No, I think I'll just select from here. That is better.
Yes, that's what I think. Left.
I'll select from here only.
Yeah, yeah.
What is this definition we have done? Terminologies, no?
Yeah.
This is the key financial concepts and terminologies. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the main terminologies. Let me go to the slideshow. Okay. No, the slideshow is not letting.
Yeah.
Let 1 sec. I will go to the terminologies only. All right. Let us do it from here. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the terminologies are financing is broadly divided. As I already told you, loans and equity. Loan, I already told you, term loan and working capital loan. And equity, I already explained to you. Equity, are you with me? Huh? Then generally small businesses start off with loans. Mainly loans are of 2 types, term loans and working capital loan. Okay, so term loan is a loan that is repaid over a set of time periods in regular installments. It could be for 5 years, it could be for 10 years, it could be for 30 years also. It is either a fixed or a floating interest rates. So interest rates could be fixed or floating. Are you getting me? Rahul? So working capital loan can be in at least 6 or 7 types. Cash credit, bank overdrafts, working capital loans, bill discounting, trade credit, bank guarantee, letters of credit, and factoring. I can explain all these if someone is interested. I can explain all this. All right.
One minute.
Hello,
Yeah, yeah, one minute, one minute.
Rahul.
Yeah, yeah, just one minute, one minute. Yeah. Okay. Just explain. Everybody is aware of most of them except bill discounting and factoring.
Yeah, bill discounting is, I'll just explain in brief.
Hmm.
Bank product, overdraft, working capital loan, you know. Bill discounting is like you are holding a bill which you have raised on a buyer, and
Hmm.
he is ready to pay you after 120 days, generally 90 days or 120 days. It requires
Hmm.
credit. No, 60 days, 90 days. But you
Correct,
can't
correct.
wait for that because you need to buy your raw materials, you need to buy your inputs, you have to
Hmm.
pay your bills. So
Hmm.
you need money immediately. So
Hmm.
what you do, you go to your own bank or any other bank and you show them the bill that I have a bill for 5 lakh rupees, which I'm not getting, but I can get it. I have supplied the product and I will get the money after 30 days or 60 days. So what
Okay.
the bank will do, it will give you your 5 lakh, but it will take a cut of that in by way of discount or interest. So it will give you 4 lakh 50,000 or 4 lakh, maybe 4 lakh 80,000. Some amount it is going to take.
Yeah,
So
correct.
that is
But
called gain. So
correct.
your main aim is to get money in hand so that your operations can continue,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. That's a very good idea because it
Yeah,
improves the liquidity and that small, क्या बोलते हैं, cut you that entrepreneur has to bear is well worth it. Correct. Okay. Now,
yeah.
what about factoring? Factoring.
Factoring is more or less like bill discounting only. Factoring is a little improved version of bill discounting. So you have factoring, which means there is a product in your hand, which
Uh,
is like a factor, and that
okay.
again is discounted. So it will require a little explanation.
Okay. Okay. Then we will be
It's,
covering
it's
some.
again a kind of a working capital loan only. Again, it
Okay.
is
Okay.
discounted. Yeah.
Okay. No issues. Yeah. So shall I move to the next question?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, what what type of financial assistance is required by MSCs at the inception stage and at the growth stage?
I think I've already told you.
Ah,
Inception stage and growth stage, I've already told you. No,
yeah, yeah, it's all.
growth stage you require for technology upgrades. There are various schemes for that.
Yeah, yeah, we have
Right?
covered all those points.
Yeah, I think we've covered.
Yes. Then, what are the major sources of finance for MSCs? This also we have covered, but
I
just
already covered. Yeah, banks, government of India, state governments, then of course Bombay Stock Exchange, MSME exchange if you are good enough to get equity. So these are the sources of finance. You start with first family and friends, and then you go to bank, then you go to non-bank finance companies,
yeah,
NBFCs.
correct,
Yeah,
NBF.
because there are these, people like Mahindra Finance or Tata Finance.
But that's
They
finance.
help their own. Yeah, they Bajaj Finance. They help their own sellers,
Yes, correct,
ancillaries.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the procedures to be adopted before applying for finance from these sources?
Yeah. These procedures, of course, nobody's going to give you money without knowing who you are.
That is
So
but
the first
obvious
thing you,
because they are
yeah,
also looking for
yeah.
the return
So
and
the first,
yeah,
yes.
safety.
So the first thing you have to do is you have to get yourself registered. If you are an MSME, you have to get yourself registered on Udyam.
Hmm.
Udyam is what used to be Udyog Aadhaar. So now Udyam is a more detailed application. It can be done online. There are videos also on YouTube how to, register yourself on Udyam. You will get an Udyam number, and that will help you to approach a bank or approach any entity for finance as well as non-finance
Hmm.
problems. Then, of course, then you have to go to Startup India if you are a startup and register yourself on Startup India. That is also a online procedure for startups. But you have to have a GST number for registration.
Hmm.
Not on Startup India. On Udyam, you need a
Correct.
GST number, whether you are in services or manufacturing. Then, if you want finance and if you are a startup, then you have to register on DPIIT,
Hmm.
Department of Industrial Policy, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Then, of course, you have to, after you have registered yourself, you have to do your own work. As I said, you have to prepare your business plan, you have to prepare your growth plan if you're an existing industry. So, business plan requires knowing your market, knowing the share of your product in your market, knowing whether you want to go regional or whether you want to go national or whether you want to only restrict to local market. Then you have to work out your market share. On that basis, you have to work out your revenue, how much revenue, what is your business model. You have to do that. You have to make a business plan. Then you'll have to pitch the business plan. And after that, only you will get finance. So these are the initial procedures, right? I think anybody who is in industry will
Correct,
know about
correct. He also needs to give some quite a detailed explanation of the business model, for which I've been,
it.
I
Yeah,
have a whole this thing which I will cover
yeah,
later. Yes, yes, yes.
yeah,
So yes, so basically, obviously, some very realistic projections have to be given. It's
yeah,
possible
yeah,
based on.
yeah. Because you must know your cash flow, no?
Yes, yes. And all this, when the entrepreneur does all this, it is not just complying with the formality. When he do all this, he or she will, they will automatically a lot of clarity will come, regarding their business. So I think it should
Yeah,
be
yeah.
that.
He will himself benefit. When
Yes.
all the parts of the business plan are
Uh,
filled up, he
uh,
knows, oh, is this what is this the cost? Is this the subsidy I can get? Is this the loan I can get? So when he starts exploring, his costs, he will probably able to take care of some of his costs by way of subsidy from the government. No? So
yes,
by
yes.
that way, his cost is reduced.
Correct, correct. And also then he starts thinking on those lines, and that itself will, bring up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he can plug whatever loopholes are there with the
Yes,
help
yes,
of
yes, yes, yes,
government.
yes, yes. Very good, very essential. Yeah. Okay. Uh, yeah, this is a common, you can say a statement given by many entrepreneurs. Observed that many
Mm.
times the request of MSEs for financial assistance is turned down by the bank. What do you think
Yeah.
is the main reason behind this?
You tell me, the reason is very obvious. Many companies take loans without ever, intentions of repaying. And that is one
Yeah,
major reason. Banks are
unfortunately,
also,
the
yeah,
fact.
unfortunately, that is the reputation that they have created for themselves.
Correct.
Again, of course, that is now dying because there are so many stringent, you have to have you can be traced anywhere nowadays. If you
Yes, yes.
don't pay, you can be traced by the bank. So your Aadhaar card, your bank account, and everything is there, so they can trace you. So you can't get away with it. But at the same time, the main problem is collaterals. If you can't give enough collaterals, because see, they give you money for your machinery. Machinery is hypothecated to the bank. If the bank takes away your machinery, your operation will stop and you won't be able to pay anything.
Yes.
So they need equivalent collaterals. If they're giving you a loan of 10 lakh, they need fixed deposits.
Mm.
Fixed deposit of 10 lakh. So many MSCs, if I had 10 lakh in fixed deposit, I would put it in my business. But no, you are working with the finance from bank. So
Mm.
you need to keep your saving safe. Nobody is going to take away your fixed deposit. If you
That is
don't
only in
repay,
the
then
event of you not fulfilling your obligation. Correct. Yeah.
yeah, only in the event if you don't fulfill your EMIs. Okay, so there is a lot of possibility of your loan becoming in NPA. NPA is non-performing asset, and
Okay.
banks
Okay.
get into trouble if their NPAs keep on rising. Banks
Yes.
get
Yes.
into
Yes.
trouble
Yeah. They
because
are
they are
like
questioned.
held
They have
accountable to
then they
RBI and
have
all
to
that.
make provision of the capital, and for that there is always an aversion to finance the micro units, finance
Mm.
the women entrepreneurs कि भाई ये तो पे करेगा नहीं.
Mm.
So these are the reservations which banks have. Another problem with the small scale industry and micro industries that their documents are not in order. Their
Yeah. Yeah. That is
environment
also
clearance is
quite.
not there. The
Yeah.
land holding, the building, leasehold.
Mm.
So there are a lot of problems with their financial documents. A
Mm.
lot of problems with their holding, land holding, or whatever where the factory is. Then
Mm.
they don't follow all the environmental protection rules and regulations. So there are
Correct.
many regulations which they are not complying with, and for that reason, the banks are little averse. Large banks
Yes.
are little averse, and then of course they try to get collaterals, because if that plant gets into a problem because of effluent or environment or sustainability, or because of, some social impact, then they will stop manufacturing. When they stop manufacturing, the bank will not get its loan back. No?
Yes, yes.
And
We
therefore,
also
there is
have
a
to
mistrust.
understand and appreciate their point of view also. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But just there is a possibility that non loans can be on non-collateral. I don't want to go into the detail, but just I heard about it.
Yeah. Yes, yes. There are schemes where micro units are given collateral-free loans as
Mhm.
a special fund called Credit Guarantee Trust Fund for Micro and Small Enterprise. This is not medium. Has already been set up long
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Sidbi was the starting point for that. And
Mhm.
then Sidbi gives funding to banks, and banks in turn guarantee that in case there is a default, then you will be able to get your money back from
Mhm.
the trust. So the bank pays from the trust, but the bank will take some kind of guarantee fee. So that is a scheme which has been working quite well. And it is a scheme for small scale units, which, up to at least 2 crore turnover, these small scale units can, the MSEs, MSEs can get, collateral free loan under that.
Yeah, the
Even the
2 crore is
startups.
also not a very small figure. It's quite a decent figure.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
so,
it's a fairly big amount.
yes,
So
yes,
the government, but of course, your entire default amount will not be given. Huh? It
Mm.
covers only 80% or 50% depending on the turnover.
Yes, yes.
But that
Okay.
scheme has to be explained. So I can show you a few schemes on my slide, and
Wait,
we
wait, wait,
can.
wait. Let me see if anything is missing. Ah, yeah. What is the importance of a business plan, growth plan for your business? I think we covered that.
I
No?
think we've covered
Yeah.
that. Yeah, to get yourself to know your project, get
Mm.
yourself to know your cost, get
Mm.
yourself to know your cash flows and your revenue, and
And
project
more,
it for next 5 to 10 years. So
correct,
that when
correct.
you project it, you know that after 5 years, whether you're going to break even or not. Break even point has to be worked out. So
Yes.
whether you're going to break even, at what stage you are going to break even.
Mm.
That is also important, right?
Yeah, so I think yes, it will not only it is not only essential from the bank funding you, but it also an essential for giving the clarity to the entrepreneur and
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
plan so
He will
that
learn a lot. He will
yes,
learn a
yes,
lot. And those who are already in business can make a growth plan. So if he
correct,
has
correct,
been in business for 5 years and he wants to set up a new company, or he prefers to stay in the same company, then of course he has to expand. And once he wants to expand, suppose he wants to expand in 2022, then he has to make a growth plan for next 5 years or 7 years, and he will see how that project will take and whether it will start generating revenue in the 7th year or in the 5th year or in the 3rd year, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that much
correct,
capacity. He has to
yeah,
set up and expand that much capacity.
yes, yes, yes. All that ROI and all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we'll move to the next question. Yeah. Can you name a few major schemes of finance announced by government India, banks and other institutions which enable MSEs to start new business and grow their established businesses?
Yeah. For that, I will share my screen with you.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Just in brief. I think it
Yeah. Yeah.
will be a long talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm listing only. I'm going to only list the schemes.
Hmm.
I'm going to only list the schemes because I cannot explain all the schemes in
Yes. Yes.
detail.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That.
I'm going to only list a few schemes, but the explanation can be done at a later stage. Okay, so there are
Yeah,
just one
I
or
would
two.
like entrepreneurs and business people to just pay attention to these slides. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So one sec. This is over. Okay. Now for startups, these are the schemes. The startups, there are not many schemes, but there are like each ministry has a scheme for a startup. So there is a Startup India. See, first of all, the startups get funding and tax incentives. So the
Mhm.
most important thing for startup is that they get tax incentives. After inception for next 3 years, they don't have to pay a tax. After that, also there is a special tax of 15% which they have to pay. So startups have this advantage. Then incubation and industry academia partnership. So industry can also fund them if they are supplying to say auto industry, and if they have innovative product, then the industry promoters or the industry chairman, say Tata Auto, Tata Motors or Bajaj, they can help them with their funding because they are supplying to them. Then
Yeah,
funding
because
is
they're
there.
ancillaries. I think they're called ancillaries.
Almost all the ministries are funding the startup. Each ministry has its own scheme for funding. Food processing ministry has funding agro industries. Ministry of Electronics and IT is funding, this artificial intelligence and robotics and analytics. They have schemes at the seed stage, at the prototype stage, at the commercialization stage. There are schemes. They give you seed funding in the initial stages, and then they give you at the commercialized process, they give you a much larger subsidy or a loan. Or sometimes the subsidy is in the form of, sometimes the loan is in the form of a convertible debenture, so that into shares, so that kind of funding is there for startups. There is some funding for startups under this Atal Innovation Mission, a platform for world-class innovation hubs. It helps to collaborate startups with different stakeholders, different stakeholders like investors, corporates who are buying from them, or banks, or government departments. So there is a platform where they can collaborate. And then from them, from the investors, from the angel investors or venture capitalists, they can get funding. Startup India Seed Fund scheme has been started by government. And then there is a credit guarantee fund specially for startups. Like if they are not able to repay, we talked about CGT MSE. Now there is this credit guarantee fund specially created for startups because they may fail, they may not be able to pay, but some guarantee gives some respite to the lender. Now I'm coming to my last slide, which is the usual, the general routine schemes. These are the schemes for MSMEs. One is the Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program. It is in the form of...
1 minute. Can you just maximize this? Is it possible? Just try 1 second. Slideshow.
Yeah, I'll see if I think can
First,
do slideshow.
yeah.
No, 1 minute. I'll have to do something about this slideshow part. Huh?
No, you must be on that slide, and in that you must say from the current slide. Acha, anyway, just carry on. No problem. Carry on with
just see. Yeah. Just see. Now I'll do slideshow here.
View and from current slide. Go to view button. View button.
What?
VIEW. VIEW. And from view. Otherwise, just double click this. It will happen.
For 1 minute, let me see if I can do slideshow.
Yeah, resume slide.
No, it's going to that same old slideshow.
Okay. No problem. Just carry on.
No, I'll have to close this probably and go to this. One sec. I think I can do it.
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah,
now
otherwise keep moving ahead. No, keep moving ahead by using the arrow key.
It's not moving. That same slideshow has got stuck on me.
Happens.
1 minute. It's not getting highlighted.
Okay, no problem. You just it's okay.
I'm trying one more time.
No. People can actually take a zoom view of that. No problem. Unnecessarily, I just...
Okay, I think I'll go and they can just take this only. So, can you see?
Yeah. I'm seeing. It's okay. Fine. Perfect. Yeah, carry on.
If I go to slideshow, that old slideshow comes. I don't
No,
know
no
why.
problem, no problem. Just we are
Yeah.
anyway at the end of.
So there is a Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, which, they give subsidies as percentage of project cost. So some subsidy is given in the beginning of the project. It is about 15%, 20%, depending on the project cost. I'm giving you very brief idea because if I go into all these schemes and
No, no, no.
explanation,
Yeah.
it will take 2 hours.
So
Then,
subsidy
as
is
I told
a
you,
grant basically. It's a grant of a certain percentage.
grant. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Then there is Credit Guarantee Trust Fund, which I told you for collateral-free loan, where the banks will give you guarantee of repayment in case you default. In case you default, that doesn't mean that you should default. But
Correct.
in case you default, this CGT MSE will repay the bank. Then there is Mudra Yojana, that is Micro Units Development and Refinance Agency, which is an NBFC, that is non-bank finance company. Most of the banks give loans under Mudra. So those are very small loans, right, up to 50 lakhs.
Yeah, but even a small loan is quite useful for
Yeah,
when a person
for
is
a
beginning.
startup and all. Yeah. And it is called funding the unfunded because, most of these Mudra people are from the semi-urban or small town areas or rural areas that they want to start some trading business or services. They get 10 lakh, 50 lakh, they are happy. So
Correct.
that is for that. Then there is one scheme called Trade Receivables Discounting Scheme, which is short form is TRADES, where again I told you, that bill discounting, it is something like that. But
Okay.
it is on a
Yeah, yeah.
platform.
Correct.
So you can do online.
Can
So
get
if your
the
payment is
payment of
delayed,
your bill from the bank at a certain cut. Yeah, correct.
yeah. Then there is a credit linked capital subsidy for technology upgradation, CLCSS. And that is for existing units. If you have already bought a machinery and you want to expand, as I told you, then already you have taken a loan from the bank. So you will get a second loan for buying new machinery, which may be a little more costly. A higher amount will be given to you if you are doing upgradation in technology. So you are trying to save cost, and for that, bank will definitely give you a loan. Then there is Sidbi Make in India Soft Loan Fund for MSMEs. It is called SMILE. It is again for new as well as existing enterprises. It's a soft loan. Soft loan means it is at a slightly lower, you know, uh, special interest rates.
Yeah,
Then there
I
is
think it's
purchase of
not slightly
equipment
lower,
for
it's considerably
enterprises.
lower.
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
there is a scheme for purchase of equipment for enterprises existing for 5 years. So if you've been in business for 5 years, then you can get this loan for purchase of equipment, only for equipment. The equipment may cost 1 crore also these days. So it is called Speed Plus. Then there are a number of schemes for marketing. Government is giving you support by way of, subsidy for participation in exhibitions, trade fairs, international as well as domestic. And then you can even, if you want to travel, they will give you some airfare. At least 70-80% of the airfare is taken care of if you want to go abroad. If you want to have a fair in India, then if you want to set up a stall, and if you want to take your samples, and you want to make your pamphlets, and if you want to make your marketing material, government is giving you help for that also. Government is giving you funding for traveling, for market material, as well as for putting up a stall. So government is giving a lot of help for marketing. Then a special platform called GEM, Government E-Marketplace. So it's a
Yes,
platform,
this is very important.
it's a platform in which the buyers and sellers discover each other. So if government, mostly government buyers. So if the government Ministry of Defense wants some equipment, then it will go on that GEM platform and say, okay, I want these products, components or whatever. So then the person who wants to supply to that particular entity or the ministry or the department, they will quote them price, and others will also quote. So on the GEM platform, you can even discover your price, at what price you can sell.
Wow.
So you know your competitors, you know how much you can supply, and accordingly the government department will buy from the best competing product.
Wow.
Best competing set.
It's I think a very useful thing, and entrepreneurs should explore it. Okay.
Yeah. Now you want to talk about yourself, Rahul?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Uh, yeah. One thing I would say, we are planning to have a separate session, and which may be paid because it is going to cover all these things in detail, and
Yeah.
we will inform the those who are interested at a later stage.
I have a small table and I'm going to show this. So when the slides are there, whoever is interested,
Yes, yes, yes. That would be.
see, whoever is interested can approach me or Rahul by giving their company name, type of company, whether it's micro, small, medium, startup, or women owned. Then they can give their products and their service. They can give a little bit about their annual turnover, if they want loan and what type of loan, working capital or term loan, and what for what purpose the loan is required, and any other service that is required, like business plan preparation or
Hmm.
marketing model or market canvas, whatever. They can give their details and that they can email to me. My email is here in the next slide.
Yeah, yeah. Please, Shen.
This
All
is in
this, of
small,
course,
but over here,
we will be giving it, but just people can note down.
yeah, people can note down, people can take a photo of this and they can ask and they can fill up the details and send it to us on the email. So
Yes.
we know who wants to know more about any of these. There are actually more than 100 schemes. Depending on, I mean, government is
Um,
only from government. Then
yeah.
the state bank has its own schemes.
Oh,
Private banks
state
have
government.
their own schemes. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
there are hundreds of schemes, but it has to be understood clearly.
Yes, yes, yes. We will prepare a module which will cover the main ones. We are planning in that.
Yeah. It will take almost half a day
Uh,
even to, explain some of the schemes and some of
Correct.
the
And
procedure.
yes,
And
yes, we half a day session where we'll explain all this, and
yeah.
we're working out logistics and all that.
Then we will take individual question answers also.
Yes, yes, yes. And that will be very useful for the.
Yeah. Yeah. So Rahul, can I ask you your questions now? Huh?
Yeah, sure, sure. We can now stop.
Can you tell us what prompted you to shift from your retail trading business to business coaching and consulting business?
Sure, sure. Now we can stop screen share, I think.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, basically,
Tell us
correct.
about your journey.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you are the main guest, so I will not take that much time. And I guess even the viewers also wouldn't like that. So basically, yeah, retail trading business was doing okay well, and I in the just few years before Corona, I went into some setback and all that. But the point where was I I just started reading information, learning about management, looking up the courses were from Bada Business and Action Coaching and all that, and Indian Institute of Learning and Development. So I realized that I need to what they call this pivot. Pivot is the word which there. So I realized I will be able to create. More impact from the society and by uh, going into this stream of consulting and through this in fact we fortunately met in this time because I choose
Yeah,
to go to this, so we came across people like you. So what
yeah,
I noticed is yes, the value addition which I could do from retail trading business, I can do much more, at least from my perception side, by going into this consulting thing. And yeah, and correct. So that's the whole idea of me shifting over from this.
yeah. Can you explain in brief the course that you are going to start for our viewers, for our small entrepreneurs?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, the
Briefly, you
course.
can explain.
Correct, correct. Okay, the course is basically I would call it business models. it's like in short, first is representing your existing business model in a proper way, where you use a format called business model canvas. Understanding the value proposition which is given by the existing business model to the consumers and how the consumers perceive it. Then, you know, then what we call testing the efficacy of the current model. Then, if we find some gaps, then how we can get some good ideas about starting new business models. It could be sub models also, some division or something. So basically, brainstorming it and getting some few more ideas. Then we have a method which where you can test it, and then some of them go to the higher stage of prototype and funding, and all that process is there. So this thing I felt would be very useful for the entrepreneurs, because ultimately it has been realized that businesses these days cannot just have one good aspect. If somebody is good at marketing and sales, and then to expect that only that particular thing will carry them through all that is, it is not now, this thing. And point is, innovation is also required in business model. And to get innovation in business model, it requires a little bit of process, which
Yeah.
otherwise and otherwise it will just so otherwise it becomes difficult to get an innovation. And innovation, such a innovation,
Innovation is the buzzword these days.
yes, but the innovation, not for the heck of it, it has to be viable also. So for that also is also very interesting. So all this course and all this using the tools, knowledge, and all that, we are going to see that how can one innovate in their business viably and feasibly, and maybe even cause a disruption in the way the business is done in that particular area. It has that potential to find out even that. That's the reason.
That's very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is something over and above the business plan. Business plan is very basic, but your business model
Correct. Business model,
is a,
you can say, is
is
necessary,
a
but it is not
refined
sufficient.
version.
Yeah. And in and business plan will actually, the when you make a future planning, if you have the
Statistics
business
are
model,
required.
knew the business model, then you can easily find out how it's going to cost and all. So
Yeah.
basically, what in business planning, you just assume that you are going to be doing the same things, and you just do a linear projection. While with this, need not be a linear projection. Okay, maybe say this year you are doing something, next year 80-90% will be the same, but that 10% will be different, and for that you can project. And then maybe next year that 10% becomes 30-40%. Yeah, so that way, so you can in your business planning itself, you can tell the bank, yeah, I have got these ideas in mind, but which will come into play in 1 year, next year, 2 years. And so in that,
so it's a moving model, like
correct, yes,
it's a moving model. As you grow, you keep on changing your model.
Yes. And then and once it is made, it's not, it is cannot be adapted or changed. You can always as per the
You have to
feedback
have
you get,
flexibility. You have to have flexibility in everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
So that is
okay.
Yeah.
So we must have a session. We must have a joint session on
yes,
this.
we'll have a joint session.
And we will invite interest from the listeners.
Yes,
we can get their ideas. We can get what their needs are, what their requirements are. And we will have another online or maybe an offline program. It will be a long duration program. So I don't know whether it can be only online. And we can make it little payable, so that later on we can have individual question answers to sort out each, because each one is from a different business, each one is from different geographical location. So it is good that we can have personal interactions also. for
Correct.
which, of course, we will have a full day, maybe, a half day thing, where
Yes,
we
yes,
can
yes.
sort out queries on individual basis also.
Correct, correct, correct. Yes, yes.
So, okay.
Okay, yeah. So just in the end, closing, I thank you, appreciate very much that you took out your precious time to,
Yeah.
guide our entrepreneurs from our group, the entrepreneur friends group, and we will also be having other viewers also. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you for
very much.
inviting me, and thank you for allowing me to introduce myself and my services.
Yes,
Always
yes.
be ready to help.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
And they can contact me on my email also.
Yes, yes, yes. We will all keep all those details.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Rahul. Thank you very much. Bye.